So we're super excited, and I think you are too, that Buff City Soap is coming to town. This is the first national retailer, and we'll get into that, but national retailer that's chosen Downtown Dyersburg in quite a while. There were some back in the day, but I think it's pretty significant that they chose Downtown Dyersburg when they could have gone somewhere, anywhere. They started, the co-founders, Brad, Kellum, and Jennifer. Man, I knew I was going to mess it up. Zimmy Annan. All right. So they started the company in 2013. They expanded to 2 locations in 2015. I think Olive Branch, Mississippi was the second store. As of today, there are 12 stores, and they're rapidly growing. We'll find out how rapid that is. They're an artisan soap company, and they make other things too, but it's mainly all about the soap. The unique thing about them is they make all the soap in store. So 90 to 100% of everything that's sold in the store is made in that store. Have really cool names for products like Narcissus and among other things. And what I think really sets them apart is just this very, I'm going to call it cheeky marketing that they do. And so slogans or taglines like "Strip down to the bare basics" and "Buff naked ingredients." And and of course the Buff City is a play on Bluff City and Buff. So anyway, so I'm going to welcome Kellum and Charli Gorman, and then we're going to talk to Brad first. But Charli is owns the Covington store and the Dyersburg store, and we're going to get a little bit deeper into that here in a minute. So, and y'all excuse me, I'm not a television person.
This is a little too formal for us.
So, well, you know, the whole point of this is, you know, I just thought it would be great to, you know, shine a light on, you know, we've been wanting companies like this to come to town, and especially downtown. And why not literally shine a light on what you guys are doing? We appreciate you coming, and so why not do something cool and have a good night? So glad you guys could be here. So we're going to start with Brad. And so Brad is a former firefighter, so appreciate your service there. And also Brad is a lawyer. Brad made the leap from, I guess, were you still a firefighter in 2013?
And I was.
Okay. So made the leap into Buff City in 2013 with his co-founder, Jennifer. And so what I always find interesting, and I don't know the answer to this, is first off, have you ever been in business before Buff City? Have you ever owned or started a business before?
You know, I spent a long time in Naples, Florida, and years ago I had a sandwich shop.
All right.
And so that was, but prior to Buff City, that was my only entrepreneur.
Yeah. And so what I'm always curious about is, you know, you have a job and you're a lawyer, so these are both good careers. And so what was the thing that just kind of caused you to make the leap into entrepreneurship?
Well, I tell you how it happened. I was a fireman and a paramedic for Memphis Fire, so I spent most of my life in the back of a moving ambulance. And when I turned 40, I realized that I wasn't going to be able to keep climbing up and out of those fire trucks. It's just something that young guys got to do.
Yeah.
So I thought, what do I want to do? I got an undergrad in American history, and so I've always been a big John Grisham fan. And so I thought, I'll go to law school. And so I started law school at Nashville School of Law back in 2012 and used to study between 911 calls.
Oh, wow.
And then my second year of law school was 2013, and I was looking for a way to make some extra money while I was in school, and I discovered that the soap that I had used my entire life, like Dial or whatever's at the grocery store, is predominantly made with cow fat. And I couldn't believe it. And so I started researching it, and it's absolutely true. Most of the bars that you see in a grocery store, it don't even say soap. It's on the front of the bar, it'll say beauty bar, shower bar. It won't say soap because it's full of detergent, and if you turn the box around, it says sodium tallowate, which is beef tallow. So I felt like that made that industry vulnerable to a plant-based alternative.
Well, what was it within your previous careers that you think, what if anything in those careers prepared you for being a entrepreneur?
Probably, well, the benefits of law school is the analytical power. And you can take the analytical power and apply it to anything. But then probably would have to be the paramilitary framework of, like I was with Memphis Fire, and we had 60 stations, and you everything you do is structured.
Yeah.
And so it's good to have that kind of balance between structure and a little bit of daredevil, I guess, especially when you're starting your own business.
Yeah. So you guys started in the garage like a lot of famous companies
We did.
Yeah. And what was it that, what was it that triggered, all right, this is a hobby, but now, wow, there's something here.
The first 3 or 4 months, we made gelatinous messes. But we were working on our recipe. We have a certain secret sauce, if you will. We have our own recipe that's coconut and olive and certain percentages of shea and stuff. And so when we got that recipe and we made our first good loaf that we thought, this is nice. The entire time that we've been experimenting, you could smell our street. We live in Bartlett, and so the whole neighborhood was looking like, what are y'all doing over there? And so we started selling the soap to our friends and neighbors, and and then we hit a couple of farmers markets, and it got to where we needed to start meeting people around town. They'd call us and go, hey, can you meet me at Kroger? And we were meeting people in the parking lot and stuff like that. So we started a website, and then the orders just got more. People would
So it's
see
e-commerce first.
Yeah, e-commerce
Shady
first.
parking lot deals first, and then e-commerce.
And then the e-commerce made the shady parking lot deals get worse because people go online and they go, well, I didn't know you had that. Can you bring that and meet me at the school? And stuff like that.
Behind the school.
Yeah. So that's how the fall of 2013 went. And then I found a 600 square foot space, nowhere, terrible frontage. It was off a stage road in the bowling alley parking lot. But I knew it was a lot of bowlers that would be out there during the day, and I knew that we smelled. So I used a fan, and we would blow the smell out of this little 600 square foot space. We had it figured if we sold 56 bars of soap a week, we could pay the rent.
All right.
That's how our first brick and mortar started.
All right. So then, this is obviously a success, the first store. So when did you start thinking? Because not everybody thinks of expanding beyond one store. So when did you start thinking about expanding?
I started thinking about expanding, and I'm not from retail, and I don't know the metrics of like how to measure good retail or bad retail, but our repeat rate was over 90%. And that was using the credit card data that our point of sale system was collecting. And we started having a lot of people from northern Mississippi ask us, hey, will y'all come down here? Will y'all come down here? And they were driving to the Bartlett store just religiously. And so we decided, yeah, we'll do it. And so we opened up down there in 2015 in February.
Yeah. So now you're up to 12 stores, and they're all company-owned stores or various partnerships, I'm assuming, at this point.
The majority's company-owned, and then we've got 3 set up as true franchises.
Okay.
That was our proof of concept.
Okay.
And then we've got right now we've got 12 under contract, and we've got 4 in active construction.
Oh, wow.
So it'll be a big end of the year, I think.
So where do you have any idea where this is headed, in terms of numbers or timelines or?
We've got a goal that we're working backwards from. And so we feel like at the end of the 6th year that we can be in the 1,000 store range. And so that's tentative on us getting better at what we do every single year.
Okay. Well, this one's a little bit, kind of a left turn a little bit, but I know that about Jennifer, and then Tiffany. And so a big question for me, there's a lot of family-owned businesses in here. So how important is family to the big dream?
As far as staffing it?
Well, just, having family involved in management, and, how important is that to you as far as trust? And
the way, and Tiffany's here, she can vouch for this. Tiffany works for Buff City, but I'm not her boss.
Okay.
And her boss is Anne Marie, and Tiffany is scrutinized in the same way that all the other employees are.
Yeah.
And we've got several, like Nick, his wife works in the company, and she's scrutinized just like every other person is. So we're one of our values is brutal honesty, and sometimes that don't work very well with family.
So somebody else is brutally honest.
Yeah. If they want to come to Buff City and work, that's fine, but it's going to be a lot of work, and not just because your family,
Yeah,
So.
that's cool. So here's the big question. So I have a feeling there's some people in the audience that have always thought, man, a bakery would be so cool, or this business, or a boutique, or whatever, and they've just been mulling it over in their head. I guess this is two parts. Like, how long did it take from you, from the time, you started this to you turned it into a real business? But what would you say to people that are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, about making the leap?
When you figure out that product or service that is your business that you want to provide, make money be the byproduct of good work. Like, I don't make a bar of soap because I want to make $3 or whatever on that bar of soap. I make a bar of soap because I want to make the best bar of soap I can make. My CFO makes money. I make soap. And so when you decide that you want to go into business, you make your product the very best and focus on that. Stop listening to anybody else. People tell me I'm an idiot all the time. If you know that your product and you believe in it and it's the best, don't listen to anybody. Get it in the marketplace and follow that quality and let money be a byproduct.
That's
Focus.
great. So who's thought about starting a business? Who's ever just dreamed about it? And Joe started several businesses. I appreciate that. So we're going to start with Charli, and then we'll come back. I want to talk more about the brand itself at the end. But so Charli Gorman, wife to John Gorman, who I just met a minute ago. They're from Brownsville. Charli's from Tipton County originally. Mom of 3. And what I think is so cool is she was a special educator. And what was the specialty?
I was a special education teacher, and then I was a speech language pathologist.
Okay. And now store owner of the Covington store and the soon-to-be open Dyersburg store. And so welcome to Dyersburg. Really excited to have you.
We're super excited.
So the obvious question for me, and we'll get into timeline here in a minute because I was surprised by this, but you had a great career. I'm assuming it was great. Wife, kids, and everything's going great. So, what in the world were you thinking?
I don't know.
So,
I'm kidding. No,
you had it going on.
I didn't know. I have a wonderful family, wonderful husband, and I worked as a speech language pathologist. And Brad's mother, actually, and a lady named Becky Kirby worked with me in a special ed preschool. And 2 years ago for Christmas, they gave me Buff City soap for Christmas. And I don't know what y'all think about getting soap products, but I was thinking, what in the world are they trying to tell me? And I never heard of Buff City soap, never tried it. So I go home with it, and I just stuck it under the counter. It was a little strong, and so I thought, I just stuck it under the counter. I had the Dove in the shower, that you get out of the shower and your shoulders are a little bit tight, and I didn't think anything about it. Well, time goes on, and they said, what'd you think about that Aqua Spa? Do you like the soap? Oh, I really haven't used it yet. You really need to use it. It's a little bit strong. So then my birthday rolls around, And they gave me some more. They gave me Good Morning Sunshine and oatmeal milk and honey, which y'all will learn is a subtle scent that we make. And so I tried it, and within one shower, I was obsessed. Like, loved it. I come back, I'm asking all these questions, like, what is in this? This is phenomenal. And in the meantime, I give it to Sunday school teachers. I gave it to classroom teachers. I gave it as gifts to my children's, all the people that were involved in their lives. Well, it didn't take long for them to ask, where'd you get this soap? Or how did this soap come about? So I called Tiffany, who is Brad's daughter, which is the lady that worked with me at the time's granddaughter. And I said, hey, I have to have some more of this. What do you think about me wholesaling this in the town that I live? Everybody's asking about it. I want to get deeper into this. Yeah, come down to the factory, check it out. We'd love to talk to you. So I go down to the factory, and I meet Jen and I meet Tiffany. And that day they kind of casually asked me, throw out the idea of opening a soap store on the downtown Covington Square. I think it's wonderful, but I'm going to politely decline. So, but I really wanted to bring it to Brownsville. So what I did is I wholesaled it in a couple of salons in Brownsville. Could not keep it on the shelves. Couldn't keep it stocked on the shelves. Everybody that tried it fell in love with it. So I was like, okay, this is some good stuff. Well, in the meantime, unfortunately for me, someone opened one in the downtown Covington area. It was extremely successful. She was doing great, but unfortunately for her, she had some family things come up, and it was forced her to have to sell. So then the opportunity arose for me to purchase the downtown Covington one. So after a lot of talking about it and praying about it and going back and forth with my husband, here I have a job where I work 8 to 3, and I'm home every break. I'm home during the summers. I have a 5, 4, and a 3-year-old. I thought, okay, what are we really going to do this? Are we really going to get into retail and work, really hard? But, I dove in head first in February of this year, and it's been phenomenal. Love it. Best company I've ever worked for. Best boss. He's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And so I'm just a byproduct of what they have created. I have no success story other than them. I mean, it sells itself. He created an incredible product. I had the opportunity to buy it, and now I'm successful because of what they have created. So.
Well,
Thank you.
And I'm sitting there looking at John, and I know how I've driven my wife crazy over the last 16, 17 years of TenCom. And so what was that like, the decision? So I'm assuming, I forgot to ask, but you had not been in retail
I
before.
owned a small children's boutique on the
Okay.
Covington Square. When I had my children, I had 3 in 3 years, so I realized very quickly that it was very expensive to close those children.
Yeah.
And so after I had the first, I opened up a children's boutique just to basically be able to buy my kids' clothes at wholesale. So that was my motivation behind it. And then I sold that. I had it for 2 years, and I sold that, and then got into this about 8 months later.
So from the first time that y'all really seriously started thinking about doing this and making the leap, what was the time frame from the beginning to you closed, the ink dried on the contract?
It was November of this last year, so it was November of 2017 is when the opportunity was presented to me. And then on February 5th, we signed the paperwork to take the leap into Buff City. So what's that, 4 months, 3 months?
Yeah. So that's what surprised me, because in talking with you guys, I thought that you had been, hard charging for the last few years, and so it's pretty interesting this is a story that hasn't been completely told out yet.
Right. Well, whenever I started the wholesaling it in Brownsville, that was in August.
Okay.
So in August is when I started doing that, and then February is when I actually purchased the Covington store.
So I don't know if you mentioned or not, but you were a teacher up until May of this year.
I was. So I bought Buff City Soap in February, and then I continued to be a speech language pathologist from February to May. So I worked from, you go into work at 7 o'clock, and then I worked till I left school at 3:15, and then I went straight to the soap store and worked there until it closed, just because I didn't know much about it. I've never ran a business at that capacity, so I had a lot to learn in a very quick time. So luckily I have an amazing husband who took care of all those 3 kids during that time. We knew going into it that it was going to probably be very difficult from February until May, where I was only going to have one job. But both of us knew that it was something that we weren't willing to turn down. We wanted to go dive headfirst and do it.
And we briefly talked about this, but the importance of family, and you just said it. It's just almost impossible to start a small business without a strong support system.
You're exactly right, and you both have to be on board. He had to be supportive of me, and obviously he is an agency manager for Farm Bureau, so he has a very demanding job as well. So both of us had to be on board with supporting each other. We knew it was going to be tough. We both want to be there every night to say goodnight to our kids and read a book to them, but there for a little while that couldn't be the case. But one of us was going to have to be there, and during that time it was him.
So how's the stress now that you have one job?
Well, it's tough right now just because we're opening up Dyersburg.
Right.
And we wanted to do it quickly. We were so excited about coming to Dyersburg. When we started shopping and we found their correct location, I told Mr. Mike Pennington, I want to be open by September. And it happened so quickly. And he is a man of his word, and we are going to be open in September.
Whether you like it or not.
Right.
Mike's going to get you open.
Uh-huh.
So that brings us to the thing that I think everybody's really interested in is, so you're going nationwide. This is 1,000 stores in 6 years is the big dream. So, you talk about the franchise stores that are kind of a test bed, but is this kind of the real first, or this is a franchise. This is going to be a franchise store.
Mm-hmm.
So what was it about Dyersburg? I mean, you could have gone any direction. You could have gone Collierville. You could have gone out east, Shelby County, more down in Mississippi. So what got you thinking about Dyersburg?
You want me to answer it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in Covington, every time someone would come in, we asked for their telephone number. Well, there was a lot of 731 area codes. And so I would just ask, hey, where are you from? Because I live in Brownsville, so we have 731 area codes. So I just want to know if they were where I was from. And there was a lot of people from Lauderdale County, Dyer County that were coming shopping with us. And so I would just ask, what do you think about one further north? What do you think about one in Dyersburg? And the response was always huge. We would love for you to come there. We'd absolutely love for you to come there. So then I just started asking, well, where do you think? What do you think? And I'll be completely honest, no one said downtown. Mm-hmm. They didn't. It was, Java Cafe is a happening place, or maybe behind Walmart. So when we came shopping over here, downtown was in the back of my mind, but it wasn't our first choice in the beginning. So we came and we looked at real estate, and I thought, we're not feeling it. We're talking in the car. I'm like, let's ride downtown. And when we came downtown, this downtown is beautiful. It is huge. The potential is ginormous down here. There's not a lot of retail that's going on down here, but there is so much going on down here. So if Dyersburg is not excited about downtown, you need to be, because prior to us coming here, they are in the works, man. They've got some things going on. They're super excited. They're ambitious about downtown, and we are just tickled to death to be a part of that. So that's why we chose downtown.
Yeah, and so two things that you were talking about, you both touched on this, but how important it is to know your customer with metrics, and then also it sounds like, is it just baked in, we're going to quiz everybody that comes in here, 731, we're not just going to assume and make a leap to Dyersburg, we're really digging in and asking questions.
Yeah, and it's not a quizzing like, hey, where are you from? It wasn't that type of thing. I snuck into
your store, and they did that.
They
quizzed me, and so I thought it was great.
Questions and
where are you from? Oh yeah, so you come in
right.
here much? I was like, no, this is my first time. So.
And that's part of us. We like to have extremely good customer service.
Yeah.
And we like to know our customers. That's why I enjoy going in downtowns, because I feel like that it's big business, but it's the mom and pop feel. You come in, you'll get to know who your customers are, what sports their kids are playing, if they have any grandchildren, and you ask them those types of questions. So it's not that we're drilling in on where you're from to make the next leap of where we're opening up a store. Right. It's that customer service. Yeah. It's wanting to know our customers, and I feel like that it's super important to know our customers.
So I know Buff City is not. It's not. I don't guess it's baked into Buff City that you go downtown always. I've seen stores in strip malls and freestanding stores, and so I'm thinking though that you really like downtown. And so as far as future growth, are you looking at cities as a whole, or are you kind of zeroing in on their finding a city with a nice downtown or a downtown with potential? How are you thinking about the next store?
There's several people interested in opening up, Buff Cities, obviously, and I'm not sure that any of them are targeting downtowns but me. So
Okay.
I'm kind of taking on a leap of faith. I like the idea of the community involvement and things like that. So there's no real reason other than I like the small town feel. I like the idea of collaborating with other businesses that are on the square for the same exact purpose, which would be community involvement. And I feel like if I were out on Highway 51, I can't do that as well as I can do it right here next to Amy James, next to Mike Pennington, Copper Lane over there, Joe's Cafe. I feel like that we can all collaborate for the exact same reason, which is community involvement.
Well, so the last question that I have is same as Brad. So what do you say to the person that's been pondering, thinking, I call it analysis paralysis, just really thought a lot about it and just hadn't made the leap? So what do you say to them?
If you're passionate about something, you can't continue to live your life doing something that you don't enjoy. I loved my job as a speech language pathologist, but there is something to be said for when you're passionate about something and you work hard, you reap the benefits of working very hard.
That's great. So the last thing I want to talk about, I want to come back to the branding. So, you could have just been as a matter of fact, you were Bartlett Soap Company to start. So tell us a little bit about the, rebranding, and then a little bit about some of the taglines that I was mentioning, product names and all that.
Well, when we first started our seedy parking lot sales, we knew we needed a name for our company, and so I named it the Bartlett Soap Company because I wanted Bartlett to feel, the community feel as though they owned it. It was theirs. But when we opened the second store, the name Bartlett didn't resonate. Even it was only 40 minutes away in Olive Branch, but the people would say, "Is your name Bartlett?" Like they didn't get, it didn't translate. So I was fortunate enough to have met a guy named Charles Gauchel. He's the creator of Pyro's Pizza, Flat Hat Beer, does Sims Murphy's branding. He's a branding expert. And I had met him when I first opened the Bartlett store, and he told me, he said, "I like this concept." But at the time, I couldn't afford him. And after the second store, we could get closer to affording him, and so we brought Charles on, and it was about a 5 or 6 month period that we went through a process trying to figure out who we are, what we do. And this is something that's always resonated with me. The first thing that we thought about when we thought about who we would be as a brand is, what voice would our brand speak in? Like, would it be Morgan Freeman? Or
right, literally.
Yeah, literally. What voice? If your brand could talk,
That's a good voice.
who would it be? And so we ended up with somebody different, but we're kind of quirky. The guy that does the farmers commercials.
Yeah.
And I can't say his name right here. It's terrible because he's the voice of my brand. But he says
We've seen a thing or two, so we know a thing or two.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And so I like when somebody says something very quirky but in a serious voice. And so that's kind of the voice behind the quips. And so we ended up changing our name to Bluff City Soap as a play off the Bluff City. And when we come with our quips, it's in the buff is how you use our product. I always say, if you're not getting a little bit of hate mail, you're probably not pushing the envelope enough. That's the reason we like, we came up with those kind of quips, was the marketing part of it.
So, and you did get did you get in a little trouble with some shirts or something, or?
Not any trouble.
Not trouble.
It's just when you try to sell them to children and they say buff naked ingredients. So we changed and they don't say buff naked ingredients anymore.
I knew there was something there.
Soap groupie now.
Yeah. And so you call is the whole store, you call it a soap makery, or is it the section of the store?
The section of the store, one thing that we have in our brand is parameters. And so like our parameter is total transparency. So we always want you to be able to see the ingredients that's going into what you're buying. And that's why we called it the soap makery. We keep it wide open. We make the soap right behind the counter so you can see what we're putting in there, and we'll always be transparent with questions, and so that's how we're doing it.
Well, I think it's great. It's a great brand.
Thanks.
And, you know, I think the best brands, you can't quite explain what the passion is, but I don't know many people that would come out to hear about a tech company or whatever, and so you got to really appreciate everybody coming out. I mean, it's such a great turnout for what I think is going to be a great relationship with you guys here in
Oh, thanks so
Dyersburg.
much.
So,
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you guys for
coming.
coming.
Thank you. Thank you.